Good morning and welcome to Power Talk. I am your host, Jean Adrienne. And this is one of my favorite things to do. It's such a great way to get information out into the world. And my goal is to give you a snippet, just enough to pique your interest, to go and explore the guests that I have on the show and to learn more about them and the subjects that we talk about. So today, my guest is the lovely Lynn Reilly, and we're going to be talking about her new book and her program, 30 Days to Me. Lynn, like me, grew up taking care of people. I think we both had mothers who, and I think we observed and we had to grow up really fast. Even when we were young, we had to start being more like an adult. And I know that for me, and I think also for Lynn, what this did was it carried over into our adult life to the point that I thought that it was my job to take care of everybody. And I became an enabler, and I forgot how to take care of me. So today, we're going to talk about this wonderful book, 30 Days to Me. It's a working book to living a serendipitous life. So welcome, Lynn.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm just thrilled to have you and really to talk about your book and this subject because, I think especially with women, this is kind of a predominant tendency that we have, losing ourselves. And really allowing those around us to direct our energy rather than us taking responsibility for our own issues and taking care of our own selves. So, so what prompted you to write this incredible book, and why do you call it a working book?
Great question. Well, the reason it's called a working book is because it's part book and part work. So there's the part that's the receiving, the reading, being part of someone's story or listening to my story. I talk about my story. And then there's the part where we talk about your story. So my experiences and how I reconnected with myself, and then how for you to reconnect with yourself. So there's definitely work involved in the process and in the book, and there's spaces in the book to write, so sort of take out that opportunity for excuse, which I absolutely have. So that's why it was created that way. But in terms of why it came to be, it's because just exactly what you said, I had always been an overgiver and had been making some big decisions in my life to change that pattern, and still found myself in a place of, I feel off, something's not right. I'm making decisions that are best for me right now, and I still feel funky. I still feel disconnected and sad and anxious and depressed, and I couldn't figure out why. And I kind of was in a puddle of myself at the time, and talked about the very first part of the book, of asking the question, why? Why do I feel this way? Why do I feel off, despite having making big changes for myself? And I heard my inner voice, my intuition say, because of you. You're missing you. You're missing your connection to self. And so I thought, okay, that's great. I will do this. I'm going to reconnect with myself. I have no idea what that means. And so it became a true process. And it was, for me, it ended up, my heard was, take 30 days to connect to yourself and see what you're all about, and really allow yourself to start feeling joy again. Let it into your life and let that be what it is. And then in turn, it became a lot of introspective questions and processes to do that.
Yeah, this is a process that I started for myself some years ago. Actually, I wrote a book about it too, because mine was the process of what I think in olden times would have been called a nervous breakdown. But I just had this mental meltdown in the parking lot of a grocery store for no good reason. And I realized, as I began to calm down enough to be somewhat reasonable, I began to realize that I didn't know who I was. I had no clue. I had been so busy for so many years being what everybody else wanted me to be, the good wife, the good mom, the chauffeur, the great salesperson that always made her goals. I mean, you name it. That I had really lost touch with what was my truth. And it took me a process a lot more than 30 days. It took me several years to really kind of get an essence of what that was. And I'm still working on it.
Oh yeah, so am I. And that's every time, the 30 days. And that's for me was, the book is designed for a 30-day process, but I mean, it's not a 30-day process to reconnect with self. It's a jump start of, okay, let's dig in and see exactly what you said. See who I am. Who am I? What do I want? And look at that. Why do I think the way I do? And it's kind of like I think of it as therapy in a book. So let's jump into me, let's dig down. But in the process, let's also do things that are fun, that are enjoyable. So I'm not every day like, oh, I have to look at myself again. This is so miserable. I am such a drag to look at, because that's not really fun either for anybody. And that's not particularly motivating. It certainly isn't for me. So, part of the aspect of the book that I like the most is the part of connecting to self by doing things you enjoy, bringing joy into your life. Not always just bringing it, but allowing the joy to be what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I think I grew up sort of being told that we were supposed to struggle, we were supposed to work hard, and joy wasn't a part of that equation,
Right.
And that really, I think, slows all of that energy down.
It does. And I think we are taught that. And again, if you do, as we were talking, or you were saying, how you become especially in your upbringing, if you're growing up to be responsible and the caretaker, you put your own needs aside. You put whatever expectations, like you said, the roles that we play. I should be this, I should do this. This is how I have to act. This is how I have to get ahead. This is what happiness looks like. And then you're doing all these things. You're like, but I don't feel it. So how do we know this is what happiness looks like if I can't get in touch with it? And I know for me, growing up in a household where, my mother died, and I was really primarily raised by my father, and my father's a workaholic, very ambitious. So my expectations that I learned were, you work hard, you put everything else first, and this is what you do. So this whole doing for myself thing was so foreign and felt really awkward at first.
Yeah. And, and it's kind of like what they tell you on the airplane. You've got to put that mask on the kid on yourself before you put it on the kid, because nobody can take care of that kid if you aren't healthy. And we forget that so much. That truly,
but doing it is different. We believe it, but doing it is different. And we all say, yes, absolutely, of course. And we give other people advice. You need to go take time for yourself. You need some self-care. Like you need to do that. But then when it comes to, oh wait, I don't have time for that. I have to do this and I have to do this. And if I don't do that, I'm not going to be a good mom. I'm not going to be a good spouse. I'm a terrible friend if I'm not constantly connecting with the people who need me, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Part of the title of your book has to do with serendipity. So how do you define serendipity?
I define serendipity as unexpected joy. The unexpected joy that comes in our lives. And my belief is that it is a part of our everyday living. And it's really tapping into the awareness of it being there. It's already there. It already exists. So part of the process in the book is looking at, okay, well, I'm committing to myself. I'm going to start doing things that I enjoy, even small things, 5 minutes, whatever. But I'm also going to start noticing the things that are already happening for me, the way life is designed for me. So if I'm having this day and it feels like everything's going wrong, it's like you and I were talking about a little bit earlier, the sort of comedy of errors that go on even in your morning, but then you start to see how things change and how purposeful they were. If this didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened, and this wouldn't have come into my life. If I wasn't stuck at the stoplight, then I wouldn't have seen this person over here who needed help, or I hadn't seen in a long time, and it reminded me of something else. Just everything has its own purpose. And so living serendipitously is allowing yourself to live in the flow of life and to see and experience and really get in touch with the unexpected joy and the purpose that's already there.
Absolutely. I mean, I had a huge example of that just this morning. I had to go early to the tag office because in Florida, where I moved to in September, you have to have your title actually done in that state. And so it was like pulling teeth and giving birth to a breech baby to actually get my title from Subaru to be able to get it to the state of Florida. But I finally did. It came in Friday night. Taken care of and tie up that loose end. And on the way between my house and the tag office, I had the pleasure of observing 3 absolutely crazy drivers that were just a hair off of causing wrecks. And, you know, I was far enough away from them that it didn't affect my world. And I could just, you know, I just kind of smiled and go, God bless them. You know, I hope they get where they need to get to without hurting themselves. Mm-hmm. And they slowed down my trip because they were, a couple of them were driving really slow and, you know, doing stupid stuff, you know. But the beautiful thing was when I got to the tag office, I could see there were people just pouring out the door. So obviously it had been chock full with a waiting list, you know, about 45 minutes. I got there and there was nobody. And I was able to go right straight to the window, met the sweetest young girl, you know, and we had a great conversation and everything was handled just like that. Yeah. And then I was able to get out, go to Starbucks, get myself a latte and get back here in time for the show, you know, with no problems at all. Or,
and that's exactly it. You know, taking those, what seemingly would be frustrating experiences, and you can take that experience and you can make it big and bold, and this is the worst thing that's happening, and own that feeling and truly manifest the feeling so strongly. Or you can allow it to be what it is, look at it with curiosity, like, well, what's this going to lead to? And then see what happens. Similarly, as I was saying to you earlier, I forgot my computer, my charger for my computer. And I thought, I can't do this without a charger, this with you today. And so I had to leave work and come back home to do that. But I had luckily given myself enough space to be able to do that. So initially I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe you forgot it. But then as I sat there, I said, well, how am I going to make this work for me? And I realized I had enough time to come back, to set up my computer, to be home for a little bit, eat lunch, and something I had been worrying about was getting over to my ex-husband's house to feed his cat. I thought, how am I going to fit that in today? And so I'll be able to do that before I go back to work and see my clients this afternoon. So it all kind of comes together. We find meaning, we find purpose in some of those frustrating moments.
Yeah. You can choose to buy into chaos, or you can choose joy.
Right. Absolutely.
A moment basis. So what do you think is the best part of creating this life for yourself where you're living serendipitously?
I would say the very best part is learning how to live in the moment, learning how to be present. That's part of it. I shouldn't say, no, it is. It's the best part is being present and finding opportunity in the moment and experiences and enjoying them, as opposed to living in the past, how that didn't work for me, or living in the future, how that's not going to work for me. And also, I think my favorite part is learning to, this is a practice. I have not mastered it yet. Certainly not mastered living in the moment either, right? Culturally, it's a tough thing. But the practice of allowing life to be what it is with curiosity, as opposed to living with curiosity, as opposed to expectation, because it's expectation that creates so much disappointment. The unmet expectation is what creates so much disappointment. But when you live with curiosity of, I wonder what's going to happen next, it's that sort of element of surprise versus, I wonder what's going to happen next. You know, it's just a different feeling of I'm expecting things to go poorly or the way that they are. I didn't know.
I mean, it's that childlike view of the world, you know, where everything's amazing and awesome, right? No matter what it is.
When you allow it to be.
Yeah.
The shift in perspective. And that's a big thing for me is perspective is everything. You know, I am the eternal optimist, which doesn't mean that I don't get cranky and moody, and my kids will certainly vouch for that. But I will often step back and pause and say, hold on, this doesn't feel good. If this doesn't feel good, what do I want to do differently? How do I want to see this differently? How can I make this work for me?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Just choice. So for the people who what are the biggest obstacles that you see people facing when they're doing it?
Okay, I'm so sorry. I lost you there for a second. Could you repeat that?
Sure. So for the people who buy your book and really dive into this process of the 30 days to me, what are the biggest obstacles that you see? Because a lot of times if you're aware of the pitfalls, you can step over them.
Right. Yes. The biggest obstacle is commitment, personal commitment, making excuses, finding reasons why you can't instead of finding reasons why you can. So even this book, I did this book, the whole process was 30 days for me, but that's my makeup is I dive in and I'm into self-care. I'm a professional counselor. That's my job. And so I'm all into investment and looking deep into self, but that's my comfort zone. It isn't for everybody. So, the commitment really is doing something for self every day to start to shift brain chemistry, elevate your mood, seeing how you can fit it in, getting into that habit, switching awareness, but also looking at some of these deeper questions and knowing you don't have to do them every day. It could, take a week and do it, or take 2 weeks and do it. That doesn't matter. The commitment is to self of doing simple things and changing that pattern of not doing anything for yourself and feeling disconnected to doing things that do feel good.
So you, as a counselor, you inspire people every.
That's the goal.
Out there. Curious, Lynn, what sort of people inspire you?
That's a great question. The people that inspire me are people who are dedicated to self-awareness, to change, to looking within, to talking about doing the things that we do, things that I practice. When I see that in other people, it inspires me to want to do more of that as well, to go even deeper, to really look at what is it that I'm doing to get in my own way of living the life that I say I want, or feeling the way that I say I want to.
Yeah. So how can our viewers and listeners get in touch with you and maybe avail?
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I lost you again there at the end.
Okay. How can the viewers and listeners get in touch with you to avail themselves of your services and get their hands on your book?
Oh, thank you. On my website, livingwithserendipity.com is the easiest way to get in touch with me and see my work. And I also do write articles that I share around the web. And I also have podcasts that are also connected to that website, talking about some of these concepts in the book as well.
And is your book available on Amazon?
It is available on Amazon. It's available on Barnes and Noble. It's available on lots of actually different places. SacredSecretsMedia.com as well. They're my fantastic publishing company that I'm working with.
So what are you working on now? You've got this one in the can and you're moving forward and promoting it. So what's the next thing for Lynn?
Oh my gosh. I might be a slight overachiever sometimes because I have so much passion. So much passion and that I want to share. I love sharing optimism and changing brain chemistry by changing thought, and mental health is really, really important to me. But so is parenting, and being a mom is really, really important to me. And looking at how we can support our children is really important to me. So I haven't figured out exactly what it is, but I know for now what I really want to do is continue to expand on these concepts that we're talking about through the podcast that I'm doing. I'm going to be creating an online course, and I'm going to be doing a 30-day challenge on Facebook. There are just lots of things that I want to help people to find very simple ways to connect with themselves, to recognize it doesn't have to be that difficult. It doesn't have to be painful, and that we can all do it.
Fantastic. Well, this has been great fun, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of that busy day to go home, get your charger, and be with me on Power Talk, because this is the kind of powerful work that's enabling each and every one of us to be a better me. So thank you so much, Lynn. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And so, viewers, next week I'm going to have another great guest, and we will challenge you to be a better you in a different way. So until then, remember, people who take responsibility for their lives create the reality they desire. Ciao.
Thank you.